Just finally, we are hearing that the Five Eyes partners were briefed by the Pentagon recently on these unidentified aerial phenomena, which would include Australia and New Zealand. Do you know anything about that?
I do. I know, for example, that Australia has been involved through some of its soldiers that have been retained by the Americans and by the British. There have been Australians involved in alleged crash retrievals. And there's a secret agreement in the Five Eyes Agreement for the retrieval of so-called foreign technology. And it's that agreement that has been used to enable collaboration between the Five Eyes partners to assist in the retrieval of technology. But what I can tell you is your Prime Minister has not been briefed. I doubt very much that my Prime Minister has been briefed. And a lot of this has been kept secret from the Five Eyes politicians.
OK, well, much more to come. Ross Coulthart, thanks so much for joining us here on The Nation.
It's a real pleasure.
Now, we asked our own Security Intelligence Services Minister, Andrew Little, if he had been briefed by the Pentagon on UAPs, and he dodged the question. But it's being reported that Canada's military was briefed at a Five Eyes meeting in May. But he also wanted to tell us that while he doesn't usually discuss, security arrangements and ongoing dialogue with the Five Eyes partners, in this case, he is going to make an exception, and he says, "I've never believed in aliens and have seen nothing in this job that has changed my mind."
We have had a huge reaction to our exclusive interview with D.Grusch, and we've heard from several officials who have in fact verified that Grusch is who he says he is and did in fact have top secret clearance with the government program on UAPs or UFOs. But not everyone is convinced by what Grusch has said in his whistleblower complaint, and it's important to hear from them as well. Science writer and conspiracy theory debunker Mick West is one of those skeptics, and he joins us now. Mick, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You take issue with several parts of D.Grusch's story. Let's go through them one by one. The first is when Grusch describes the unknown materials that he says were making up this non-human aircraft. Let's listen to what he said.
Why do you know it's exotic?
Based on the very specific properties that I was briefed on, isotopic ratios that would have to be engineered for it to be at those levels, but also just extremely strange, heavy atomic metal, high up in the periodic table arrangements that we don't understand, what the emergent properties are, but there's just a very strange mix of elements.
Mick, what bothers you about that answer?
Well, there's 2 points, really. One is that he claims that they have intact craft, and they actually have the bodies of the pilots of those craft. So you would think things like actually having alien bodies would be much more significant evidence of there being aliens. But the other thing is the analysis he describes, the isotopic ratios and the structure of heavy elements, is stuff that's been part of kind of UFO mythology for a long time. And these are actually not things that cannot be duplicated on Earth. Isotopic ratios are just a mixing of two types of metal of different isotopes. And the strange structures he's referring to quite possibly refer to a bit of bismuth and magnesium that has been floating around in the UFO community for a couple of decades. And it's quite possibly just a bit of an industrial slag or something like that. So these aren't actually new revelations. These seems to be very much just part of essentially UFO mythology, kind of repackaged in a semi-official format.
You have also noted that Grusch received permission from the Department of Defense to do the interview with us. Let's listen to that part of the interview where he says that.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
While I can't get into the specifics because that would reveal certain U.S. classified operations, I was briefed by a few individuals on the program that there were malevolent events like that.
Okay, that wasn't actually the soundbite that I was calling for. He does say, and he shows us permission from the Department of Defense to give that interview. What bothers you about that permission?
Well, the DoD, when they clear things like that, they're not actually checking it for accuracy. They're just saying it doesn't actually reveal any secrets. So if he's making claims that are quite extraordinary about, say, decades-long programs of reverse engineering that are kind of involve kind of this worldwide conflict and conspiracy that really seem like they would actually be secrets and they wouldn't be things that you want to be released. And the things that he's been told that he can release, like he gave a story to a French paper about a UFO that was recovered in Italy in the 1930s and then transported to America in the 1940s to be analyzed, and they've been analyzing it for 80 years. That is something that would be a secret, and yet they've told him they can talk about it, which kind of, to me, makes it sound more like it's not actually something that's true. Things that are mistakes are not classified.
Yeah, but isn't the biggest issue here that all of Grusch's story is based on secondhand information? He didn't actually see the aircraft. He didn't actually see the alien remains. He was told about them or read documents about them, he says.
Yeah, that's a huge point. He's not someone who worked on any of these programs. He said he didn't see any photographs of it. He's not actually seen these things. He's talked to people. And we know there are people who think they've worked on programs. There have been people coming forward for many years. It never actually amounts to anything. And it's quite possible that people have become convinced that they're working on programs like this simply because reverse engineering programs of crashed things are actually real. In 1978, Canada and the US did a joint program to recover a crashed spaceship, which was actually a Russian spy satellite, the Cosmos 954. And they took the remains and they took them to a secret location, something like Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and then they analyzed them and they reverse engineered them as needed. But that would have been top secret. That would have been a highly compartmentalized program. And you can very easily see how people working on a program like this could come to believe that they are actually working on UFOs.
So you don't believe David Grusch's story, correct?
I don't think what he's saying is accurate. I think it's quite possible he's believing what he's saying, but it's quite an incredible story that really needs some actual verification, and I'm hoping that's going to be coming soon.
I'm just curious, 10 seconds. Do you believe in UFOs? Do you believe in the possibility of UFOs?
I believe that UFOs are a real thing, and that we have unidentified flying objects. They're probably things that are both a combination of mundane things and foreign technology. I don't think they're aliens, and I don't think they're doing anything particularly amazing. The video evidence really doesn't stack up there.
All right, Mick West, thanks so much for coming on. It's important to get all sides of the story, and we appreciate you coming on to do so.
Thank you for watching.